Hello, everyone. Welcome to Groups 4 Sorry presentation. I am Marissa Hamilton. We have Tung and Hader with us today. I want to quickly go through the agenda for today. We have the game layout, just kind of what the windows you'll see when Hader does his demo. And then Hader, during his demo, will show us both the text application, how that still works, and the GUI application and how that works and how they work the same. Then Tung will go into the class diagram and he will show you what we've changed since the last iteration. From there, we're going to go into a few challenges that we encountered in this iteration and then lessons learned throughout the course. So when you first come in, you will be into this welcome screen. You'll get to choose how many players there are. Will the AI be joining you in your game? And then you can actually change your window size depending on your computer and what you would like to see. Once you hit submit, you're going to be brought into the game. So this is the board. This is where your pawns are starting, is those squares that they're currently in. And then to start the game, you'll have to click the deck in the middle. This is like pulling a card off the pile. Once you do that, you will see that it's going to be player one's turn. They'll draw a card and be able to either move or not move from that. Once they are able to move, you will see a red circle around them, but I'll get to that. From here, in this window, you'll see that there's actually a description of each card as you pull them up. So when you choose a card, it will tell you what you can do with that card, as well as show you. From here, as I mentioned before, it highlights the pawns that can move. So in this case, in the image on the left, player 2 got their turn first because they were able to draw something that they can use, and they can move one of their pawns out of the start. Now, once another player gets a card that they can use, they can move out of the start, and it's shown by the highlighted red. It's really cool because we implemented this hover option where you hover over a pawn that has the choice to move, and it will show you the moves that you can make, as you can see when the player 1 draw 10. So the 10th card allows you to move 1 step back or 10 steps forward, and it will show you your options. If one of those options are missing, that you can't do it, it will show you the other option, or it won't do anything for you. Once you get all your pawns into your home, player 1 has won, and it will display a message saying that you won. Off to you, Hader, to show the demo of the game and all that we've done.
All right, and I'll just go ahead and start sharing this. And let's start with the game here. So let's go ahead and run it. And here we have everything. Please enter the amount of human players. So with this addition, we can actually write strings and it will say invalid input. So let's enter human players, AI. If I enter 1, it will reprompt me. So let's say yes. And then we can still choose our colors. Yeah, I chose 2, and so we can't choose 2, so let's choose yellow. So player 3 drew first. They drew the highest card, they get to go first. And then they actually drew 2 right off the bat, and they can move that pawn. And since it was 2, they get to draw again, and they get to move 0. And nobody else was able to draw, so player 3 gets to go again. Here we have the choice still working. Choose a pawn to move, and let's move it 1 step backwards. As you can see, it moved 1 step backwards. And then player 1 choose sorry, so let's switch with blue here. And as you can see, we took their place. All right, that's just a quick overview just showing it still works. And let's go over the graphical user interface here. So new with this iteration, we have the slider here. So we can actually make it a little bit smaller. And I'll set that to false. And there you go. here we have our window a little bit smaller, and we start by clicking the deck. As you can see, it tells us whose turn it is. Player 1, it's your turn. And then what the card does, choose the opponent to switch, but nobody's on the board, so we're just gonna have to skip our turn here. Player 2's turn, and let's keep going until we get A2, which will move us out of home. So as you can see, when I hover over, it actually shows where the pawn will move. So let's just move that there, and we got a 5. Since it was a 2, we get a draw again. And as you can see, I can move these, and it won't show anything because that's not a valid move for these pawns. And 2. Let's keep going, and here we can select one of these, and it highlights the enemy pawn after I select it, and we can take his place and send it home. 10 can't move. 12, there you go. 7 can't move. 4, as you can see, it allows us to move backwards here. So 7, here's our splitting. So let's just move this guy over here, and it shows the other pawn we can move to give the remaining 2 moves. And let's just move that. So player 2, 8. As you can see, I selected 8 and it was too far from home, so it wouldn't let me actually move. So let's move 1. 7, that's the only place I can move since I can't split. And let's try and get one of these guys home actually. Oh, here we have a choice card, so it highlights where I can move, and if I actually select it, you can see it's still highlighted. And let's move 1 step back. And then we can move forward. 10, again, we can move 10 forward this time. Same thing with sorry. 3, can't move it. 11, no one to switch with. Let's get one of these in. 4, move back. 3 is move forward. Then, as you can see, I just sent that one home as it hovered over it. And the only one left to show is 11 here. So as you can see, it highlights where it can move if that's desired. So I can select it. You can see it says switch place or switch places with another pawn. So we can go ahead and switch with that pawn. And that's about it for the graphical user interface. As you can see, we've added the highlighting tiles and player turns to somewhat alleviate the confusion. So I'll pass it over to Tong. Oh, sorry. I forgot. I do want to show the AI here. And the bigger window size. So let's see. 1 and true. So here you can see the window's a bit bigger. And the computer player drew 1, so I can't click for him. They're gonna actually move by themselves. Player 10, 4, they can move back. 0, and yeah, they can move out. So they're still making their moves correctly, as you can see, and I can still make my moves here. So that's it for the demo. I'll pass it over to Tang to show the diagram.
Okay, so I will be talking about all the changes we have here in the class diagram. So as you can see here, the game GUI class, our biggest class, the most important one in this GUI thing. We have implemented the resizing of the game GUI window. So the tile size, which used to be a constant, is now no longer constant. It is now changeable value. And we have this here, 2 methods to get and set the tile size, which is all static method because the tile size is still a static value. And with that change, we made all the change to other element on the board to have the size and location be related to the tile size. There's no longer any fixed value. All the value is calculated from the tile size. The tile size is now the unit for us to calculate all the location and the size of other elements. And how does this tile size change? Is we have the slider right here, on a new slider right here on the setup controller window size, which will determine the tile size that we will have for the game GUI. Another change that you might notice is now we have two pawn label that will display the player's turns and also the card, describe the card that the player drawn from the deck. So they will be changed by calling the set player card and set card info, which is called in play the method where the a game's turn play out. Okay. So our final new feature that we have is now the pawn will show is moved upon the mouse hovering over it. And for this we have to use our handle event click. And since it's already used for handling the mouse click on elements, it is now having to be separated the handle into two methods, which is handle mouse click and also handle mouse enter. Okay, so that's enough for the feature, but also we have the changes in the classes. We have break down our very long method into smaller one for convenience of viewing and revising everything. So computer player has one of the biggest method in the game, the card movement, which taking the card that is drawn in the turn and also the board information. This method is inherited from human player, but it is now changes so that instead of asking the human player for the information, is now decide for its own. So it has 5 methods down here that it will be using to determine the pawn that will be getting the move from the card that is drawn. And that is get pawn start, get pawn to move on the board, get pawn to switch, and get the other pawn to switch with. And also showing if there's any pawn at a location by gets pawn at here. So done with the computer player. And another issue that we have been having is also a very big method in the game class. So we have been breaking that down into the other part. So that method is set up and it handle like asking the player for information on number of player and also whether the AI is there, and it also distribute the turn for the player, and that is randomly chosen. So right here we have the method to call for that, and also to validate the for our error checking. We also have the validate keyword here, which will be handling those errors that we will encounter earlier in the text-based console game. And right now, I think that is all we have for the class diagram changes. So I will be leaving it to a lesson learned. Yes.
Sounds good, Tom. Thank you. So some of the challenges that we ran into were long and complicated methods, like Tom alluded to. How we dealt with that is we broke it down into smaller methods, and we're able to make it a little more manageable with that way. Next challenge that we kind of ran into was handling each different event in a single class. We solved this one by figuring out that we can actually check which event occurred. Then once you figure that out, you can then call the corresponding method in the class. So it's really interesting to figure that one out. And then we had to find a way to resize the window. And that one was basically done for trial and error. There wasn't much more to it. We just kept trying things until we found something that worked. Lessons learned, we learned how to program in an object-oriented application, whole purpose of the course. We then learned the other purpose of the course is working as a team, where it was really interesting to combine all of our skill sets and produce something that we are proud of and happy to have. Another lesson learned was how to get a GUI to run smoothly. Having all your choices there, having all the things that we wanted to do within the GUI, and how to make that go smoothly. Next was working with GitHub. There was so many challenges over the course, not just for this project, but for assignments with GitHub of either overriding other people's data or what have you. And so it was learning how GitHub works with their merging and all of the other components. Next lesson learned that we had was working with JavaFX handlers. So a good portion of our GUI has all the handlers for all the clicks. And so just kind of figuring out what happens when you click on a button and all that kind of stuff. And then lastly, creation of the UML. I know personally I've never created a UML, so just kind of figuring out what arrows go where, what they look like, all that kind of stuff was very interesting and something that we can take forward into further classes. So I just wanted to thank you for watching our video on the Sorry board game. We look forward to seeing you guys in the fall, and hopefully you enjoyed our presentation. Thank you very much.